And now, more Utalk. Now,
I'm Steve. On our show today, very special guest with a very important topic. Her name is Sabrina Shaw. We want to give a background on you so people know who you are. She's an athlete. She's a recent university graduate. She's a small business owner. How cool does that get? And she launched something called Minds Matter just recently, having to do with mental health. So you're crazy busy.
Yeah. No, it's been a lot, but it's all fun things, so I enjoy it.
No, that's really cool. What's next what happens next? You've graduated. Are you moving? Are you starting a new job? What's happening?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. So I did my undergrad, but I'm going to be a physical therapist, so I need to go to school for another 3 years.
No.
I know. Get my doctorate, so I'm moving back home to Indianapolis, going to the University of Indianapolis to finish that degree and go from there.
Oh, very cool. Is there any particular type of physical therapy that you want to do?
I have thoughts and ideas. Coming from an athlete background, I've always kind of more towards the athletic populations, but I'm also very open to anything. I'm excited to do the clinicals and kind of see what I like.
Well, I wish you the best in that. But you're wise. I say this because I was wrestling. Do I go on to do graduate work after I got my, undergrad degree? And I went straight into it like you did as well. And I'm so glad I did, because I think there's too many things that can happen. You get sidetracked. You say, maybe next year.
Yeah.
That kind of. So, anyway, from personal experience, that is very cool. Okay, random question for you as an athlete. If you could ask any pro athlete a question, who would it be and what would the question be?
I have to lean towards my soccer players. There's so many good ones. I don't want to single anyone out, but literally anyone on the national team, especially. I remember growing up watching the Abby Wambach and then Megan Rapinoe and Morgan or Alex Morgan era. Those were my three superstars. And I guess just something I always these people Alex Morgan just had a baby. How do you do that? How do you balance being a mom and being a soccer player and life in general? Balance is something I'm so curious about, and having to find my own balance with my business, school, and sport these last few years has been really tough. So I'd be curious, I guess, to know how she does that.
Oh, yeah. No, that's an awesome question. Because like you just said, you've had school, and now with somebody like her, family and a baby, and I would like to have an answer to that, really, because I feel like I've got too many balls in the air right now, and I just can't keep them going all the time. It's like when I move one direction, I've got to get back. You know what it's like. You try to get back in the other direction. So now you played soccer for University of Iowa. Mm-hmm. What position did you play?
Goalkeeper.
Whoa.
Not what you're expecting?
No, it's like I did not play a lot of soccer, but I didn't. They wanted me to play goalkeeper, but because I'm tall and I've got a big reach, but I was never really good at it. I gave it a try, but I take it you were pretty good.
Yeah, if it makes you feel any better, I didn't want to be a goalkeeper when I started either.
Okay.
And I forget how old I was. It was really young in travel soccer years, and they needed a new goalkeeper for the starting team. And I played basketball, so I knew how to catch. And I also joked that my coach chose me because my parents are 6'1" and 6'4". So I was supposed to be a lot taller. I'm a measly 5'10".
Is that all?
I know that's not short, but in my family, I'm the shortest one.
Yeah.
I like to say, joke's on you, I didn't actually grow to 6 feet tall.
5'10", though, that's some serious inches. Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, no. When did you start playing soccer?
Soccer itself, when I was 3. Joined the little kid. Yeah.
How does a 3-year-old play soccer? The balls are huge, or do they use smaller balls?
It's smaller. So there's a size 1 that's really small, and when you get older, eventually the size 5 is the one that everyone else plays with.
Okay.
It was very poor soccer, but it was soccer.
Hey, you started, right?
Uh-huh.
So did you? Was it consistent after that? You just kept going and doing it?
Yeah, after that, I kind of just kept playing, and for a long time, it was just what I did. I didn't love it by any means. It was just kind of the sport I was put into, but I was also put into softball and basketball, and obviously I did not stick with those. Did not love them as much. When it came to middle school and high school, it was kind of when I was okay, I really like soccer, and I kind of dropped the other two sports.
Okay. Obviously, you had to try out for the team at U of I and all of that. So, I mean, that's a serious jump from middle school, high school to university.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure and stress, especially for essentially really young kids who aren't fully mature and don't really know what they want out of their lives to choose college and like essentially narrow down their major options and all those sorts of things.
So that was a stressful time, I take it then, when you had to try out and worried about whether you made it. And was there anything else hanging on that? Was there a scholarship thing, or was it just trying out for the team?
Yeah, so there weren't necessarily what I would call like tryouts. As athletes know, like we go to ID camps. These are camps that we pay for out of pocket or our parents. And we essentially go show off what we know to the coaches over a day or two at a weekend. And so I did a few of those, but I was also talking to other schools. I was trying to figure out what I wanted in terms of school size, where I wanted to be, trying to know the coaches, what major I wanted to do.
Interesting.
All sorts of stuff. So it's a lot of kind of like thinking through like the little choices.
Now, see, I was not familiar with that process because I didn't play sports seriously when I got to university. It's not that I wasn't involved, but I wasn't playing on a school team, and so that's an interesting process. So you're actually kind of weighing things, one school against the other, and they're looking at you, and then you're waiting for the offer to come in, and then you decide. And I take it you were glad that you got to U of I.
Yeah, I was really excited. I wasn't necessarily looking at them at first, but once I got on campus, I was like, oh my gosh, I love it here. The city's amazing. The people were fantastic. And yeah, it really is like, it's like cliche, but it's like a when you know kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was me when I like arrived on campus.
Oh, that's cool. No, what city is that in, by the way?
Iowa City.
Oh, okay. And on-campus life was good, and classes and all that stuff. Community life was good.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I love the like feel here. It's very like the city is part of the university is part of the city.
Yeah.
Amazing restaurants and farmers markets.
Oh, nice.
All sorts of stuff that I really enjoy.
The stuff, living on the West Coast, we don't have a lot. I mean, we have farmers markets, but they're not the same as when you get to the Midwest.
Midwest markets are best.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference. Okay, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm stoked we were able to connect with you, and you're willing to take the time in a super busy time of your life. It's such an important topic, and we don't talk about it enough. I mean, we just don't. And not that it has to be the constant, focus of conversation, but we need to talk about it because there's an awful lot of people, especially younger adults, who are struggling with it. I mean, middle-aged people, I mean, they don't want to admit it. They're struggling with it too, but it can have such an adverse effect on your life when you're a young adult if you don't deal with it. And you had your own journey, battle, struggle, and I read it, and when I saw that on Mark and Kim's website, I thought, man, we have got to reach out to you and see if we can't get you to share that. So take us on the journey.
So my journey was kind of everywhere. Like we were talking about, I am on the soccer team, or was graduating now.
Yeah.
So I'm still getting used to that.
It'll take some time.
It's only been like 4 days since I graduated. So
okay. We'll give you some slack then. That's okay.
So I was on the soccer team at the University of Iowa, and I was so excited to get here. My freshman year, I just kind of came in with this great attitude. I was excited. I wasn't that stressed about playing time because I really didn't think that I was going to play. I didn't have expectations to play that freshman year. We had a 4-year start as a goalkeeper, and once you have like one starter as a goalkeeper, that's usually like the person.
Okay.
So I had zero pretty much expectations to play that first year unless something drastic happened and there was injuries and I was like needed. So that kind of allowed me to have some more fun that first year and just kind of play soccer, enjoy myself, and whatnot. But then sophomore year came around, the starter was gone, the position was up for grabs, and I was like, okay, now is my time. This is when I earn it. This is when I get to play for college, playing dreams, everything that I wanted. But unfortunately, I started just putting so much pressure on myself and just like needing to be perfect all the time that when I made the smallest mistake in practice, if I didn't catch something cleanly, if I missed a pass, if things just weren't like perfect, then I would start to like just beat myself up. I would start cussing myself out. I would start just internally just like berating myself essentially. And it got to the point where like my trainer kind of saw it and she was like, hey, you should get help. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I need better. I need to play better. And she was like, okay.
Now, let me interrupt you for a second. Are you a perfectionist type of person?
Most college athletes would say that they have at least some sort of perfectionist aspect of their lives. Like definitely something that I had a lot of into college that I didn't quite realize, and definitely something that I'm still working on today.
Yeah. No, I mean, because it's, I know I've been, our team members, crew, sometimes I get, oh, you're such a perfectionist. And I'm a musician. So, that's kind of carried through my life. And I do beat myself up there at times. It's like, I should have done that differently, whatever it happens to be, if it's a live gig in the studio, whatever it is. And that's something that you have to guard against, because you can really, like you said, berate yourself, beat yourself up. And it's kind of like, every once in a while I'll say, hey, Steve, stop taking yourself so seriously, lighten up, pal, just go chill someplace, do something. So that's kind of where you were then, and especially as an athlete.
Yeah, that's essentially how that process went. And this is about, honestly, this timeline gets so jumbled in my head because this is about when COVID comes in. Spring of my freshman year is when COVID hit. So this is pretty much summer going into that weird fall of where we didn't really have a season, but we were practicing, we were still playing. So I was still competing for this starting spot. And towards that end of the season, the coach called me into his office and was like, hey, like, you're not playing very well. And I was like, yeah, obviously. And he was like, look, there's 4 of you. You're like last by like a lot. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm like working on it. I'm trying to fix it. And he's like, no, you're not understanding. Like, practicing isn't helping you right now. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you're beating yourself up so much at practice that no matter how hard you're trying, like, it's only getting worse. You're spiraling. Like, once you make a mistake, then you're so like tightly like wound and like stressed that you just after mistake after mistake. Yeah. And I was like, oh. It's like, what do I do? I was like, I'll go to practice. I'll do more. And he was like, no, you need to take a few days off. And he essentially, after that conversation, he made me find a therapist and work through some stuff because I was bawling in his office. I was having a really tough time kind of facing the fact that I wasn't living up to the standards that I'd set for myself.
Ooh, unrealistic expectations then. Now, was that hard? I mean, you respect the coach because they're the coach, but when the coach says, hey, take some days off, go get a therapist. And I take it wasn't necessarily optional. I suppose it could have been. You could have said, hey, forget it, but it sounds like it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't really something that he would have negotiated with. And I genuinely believe it's because he cared about me as a person too. Look, this is going to bleed over into your professional life, your social life, like in like your best interest, like leave soccer out of it. Like you need help. And like you have access to therapists here at the university, like for free, you might as well use them.
Oh, yeah. Did that offend you?
At first I was like, I wasn't actually more offended about the therapist part. It was more about the taking days off of practice. What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean
I'm dedicated. I've been pouring myself into this, and now you say take a few days off.
Yeah, I did not take to that very well. But the therapist part, I was like, okay, fine, you're probably right. Like, I kind of knew I needed that sort of help. This is something I talked about recently with someone. I didn't think that I deserved mental health treatment because I didn't think my problems were that big.
Ooh, that's probably more common than we realize. I have not. You're the first one I've heard say it that way. But I get it because you look around and also I guess it's the kind of thing of saying, well, yeah, I got a few problems, but I'm not that bad. I'm not, let somebody else. And I guess that's almost a way we can try to excuse ourselves out of it.
Yeah, and that's something that I did for a while. It was like, I know I have issues. I know I shouldn't be doing these things, but there are people who have it so much worse. There are people with way bigger issues that need these therapists more. And yeah, a lot of people need to seek therapists, but ultimately you're in a session with a therapist, like their number one goal is to help you no matter where you're at and no matter what you're going. Their whole focus is on helping you, and they will never judge you or like disregard your feelings, because it's not important what like other people think about if your problems are big enough. It's about whether you're willing to go in and seek help. They see your problems as actual problems. It's how you feel about them. That's important.
So Sabrina, how did you get over the stigma? And not that you broadcasted, hey, social, that kind of thing. I mean, I'm sure you probably had combo with your parents and boyfriend or some close friends or whatever, because that's not something that we want to talk about, let's tell the world, that kind of a thing. But I mean, there is a stigma, let's face it. And I think it's worse with young adults than I do with older people. Maybe not, but I spend more time with young adults than I do with older people. So, but how did you get rid of, or was that even an issue? Was that stigma in your mind going, I'm not sure. I mean, you're saying I don't need it as bad as somebody else, or there's somebody that's worse than I am. Or was that kind of your own little inner battle?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. Honestly, like it was pretty easy to get me to go to therapy. Okay. Once after my trainer had already kind of mentioned it, I was like, okay, fine, like I'll go. But I didn't fully like buy into the process and like tell the full truth for quite some time. My therapist, I was kind of like holding back and be like, no, I'm fine. Like I'm just doing this to fulfill a requirement.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's legit, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, but it took, I had opened up to one of my friends who was also an athlete and like knew the therapist and everything. And she was like, if you don't tell your therapist this tomorrow, like, then I will tell her for you. Ooh. And I was like,
good friend. That's a good friend.
But yeah, she was really looking out for me, and I was like, okay, fine. So I like told her, and that's when we started getting into more of the nitty gritty issues that were kind of making me spiral during practice and not enjoying soccer more.
Was it a matter of trust? You weren't sure if you could trust a therapist, or what was causing you to hold it back inside?
I'm not really sure what it was at the time. I think it was kind of going back to that. Like, I didn't really think my problems were that big. Like,
okay.
And it was like, I didn't want to put that on someone else.
Yeah.
And yeah, also that I was just like, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm dealing with it on my own.
Yeah. So you went on this journey with the therapist. Were you able to get back to what did the coach say? I mean, did you have to report to the coach, say, hey, I'm in therapy? And how long was it before you were able to start playing again?
Yeah, so I only sat out for a few days.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like hey, you're sitting the rest of the season kind of deal. It was like, get your head right, go find time to actually like get started with the therapist and everything. And then I got back to practice, and like it was not better immediately. Like it took time. I saw her for quite a few months. I was diagnosed with anxiety, had a little bit of depression going on there as well, just in the season. And we, after quite a few sessions and some talking, we decided to try medication and see if that kind of helped. Because I was just so scared of messing up every day in practice, and just everything was just like tight, like wound up, like I couldn't like relax and enjoy my sport because I was just so worried about making a mistake and like failing my coaches and my teammates. Okay,
so it was wanting to please your team and please your coach as well as please yourself, because I take it you had those goals in mind, saying this is what I want, this is the way I want to play it.
Yeah, for sure.
People that are watching us, listening to us or whatever, what are some of those nuggets maybe that your therapist shared with you? A couple things that really you went, aha, yes, kind of a thing.
Yeah, something that I struggled with that kind of fed into my anxiety a lot and that I'm still working on was comparison, especially comparison in the weight room, on the field, everything. And just like knowing that like other people are more concerned about themselves than they are with you, and like really like taking that to heart, and like not in like a bad way, but just knowing that other people don't care what weight you're lifting. They do not care if you're lifting 5 more pounds than they are, or 20 pounds less, or whatever it is. Like, no one judging you, but yourself. And kind of like grounding myself that way was a big step. And that definitely helped a lot. And then, yeah, just kind of finding time within my practice to just like breathe and like find joy in my sport.
Oh, nice.
Because that's something I also struggled with is I was injured a lot.
Oh.
I didn't have a healthy semester until my like spring of my junior year of college. So I was injured a lot. So just when I was healthy, being able to just be like, hey, I'm playing soccer. Like I'm able to play the sport that I love. Like, with my best friends.
Stuff that's so important. And, you know, we live in such a highly comparative culture. And I love the tool of social media, but it can be an ugly tool as well because it's too easy to compare yourself to, and it's unrealistic comparison really, because a lot of it isn't reality. You know, it's like somebody's blowing sunshine up there, but that ain't reality, pal. You know, I mean, you can say what you want to say or whatever, and we get that fed to us. And it's hard to push it away and say, no, and what you just said, other people don't care, you know, as we think they care. Because I think it's easy for us to create, he's saying this or she's looking at me and. Yeah. And in reality, they might be, but they probably aren't.
Yeah. Like, we're all the center of our own universes. And, like, ultimately, like, we care about each other as much as we care about ourselves. Which is kind of weird to say, but also very just like, no one cares what you like, and no one's going to remember what you were yesterday. Like, no one but you.
Yeah, that's so true. It really is. I mean, it's almost like we got to find a way to empty some of the memory banks, you know, those things. And it's funny because those voices kind of hit us. I know for me, and you might be the same, kind of at the oddest times, it's like, where did that come from? Why? I don't need to remember that anymore. What am I remembering? That's dumb. It's just a waste of energy. I'm remembering that stuff, you know? So now, are you planning to still see a therapist? That's kind of a personal question in this process, or did you come to the end with this therapist and you feel like, hey, I've got a handle on this. I feel like I know what to do.
Yeah. So once I kind of like figured out stuff with her, I think I stopped seeing her in my junior year.
Okay.
Because I was in a really good place at that point. And we just started kind of seeing each other like less and less frequently. And then we're like, okay, like we're pretty good on our recurrent meetings. If you ever need anything, then you come in.
Okay.
And that was kind of where we left it. I briefly went back in the fall of this year because I was kind of just having some recurring anxiety and stuff that I needed to work out with. But that was pretty brief. We figured it out. That was mostly due to just like life stressors, applying to grad school.
Oh, yeah.
Questions in my future, if I was going to take my 5th year and play soccer in grad school or not, stuff like that. So, yeah, but right now I'm good. I know the resources that are available to me, though. I think that's very important, is to know where you can find help at all times. The 988 helpline is always available, and pretty much every university across the U.S. has some sort of helpline or free therapy treatments that you can apply.
Yeah, no, it's out there. I'm glad you're in a good place with that. By the way, are you going to play a 5th year of soccer?
I am.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Oh, that's very cool. Goalkeeper again, or do you know yet?
Oh, yes, I'm goalkeeper.
You are the goalkeeper.
That would be rough.
Oh, that's very cool. Okay, you, what motivated you? I think we know the answer to this, but you started Minds Matter, the Minds Matter campaign. Unpack that. What motivated that? What's that all about?
Yeah, so over a year ago, I had met Kim for the first time, and yeah, we just really hit it off. We knew we wanted to do something, but we didn't know what, and I just wanted to do something for athlete mental health. That was kind of my whole goal, my whole driving factor. And I had actually been doing some customer discovery for my own business, talking to other athletes across the country, and someone mentioned a shirt with this saying on it, with minds over matter, with the over crossed out. And I was like, oh, I really like that. I was like, can I bring this to Kim? And she was like, yeah. So I told Kim about it, and she was like, that's amazing. And I did some little Photoshop, made the E into a 3 for Helensky's Hope for their logo, and to help support their brand, because I'm going to send the majority of the proceeds back to their organization so that they keep doing the amazing work that they're doing.
And they are. I mean, we had Mark on the show last year, and I mean, it's kind of an interesting connection because a buddy of mine's daughter was Tyler's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of lived through what happened, at a distance, and then was connected to Mark, and it's just such a tragic story. I mean, here's an amazing quarterback and decides that life is too much. So I love what they're doing. I really do. And I'm so encouraged that you're part of that. Well, tell us about Urban Wave Embroidery then.
Urban Wave Embroidery.
Wait, excuse me. Oh, I can't believe I said that.
No, it's okay. Honestly, the name was from a random name generator back when I was a sophomore, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know this business would actually grow to anything. And I was like, I just need really quick for this form. So yeah, I launched this back in my sophomore year, 2020. My roommate and I kind of messed around, and we're doing some hand embroidery stuff when we were in lockdown for COVID. I know. And I posted it on my Snapchat story, and people were like, oh my gosh, like, can you make me one? And I was like, sure. So I started kind of doing just random stuff like that. And then eventually
custom stuff.
Yeah, all custom stuff at that point. And then I got a machine, started making some more stuff. Entered some pitch competitions here at the university, won some money, bought a bigger machine, and now I'm able to do a lot more quantity as well as just better stuff, more variety. And yeah, I kind of realized like I've been doing a lot of custom work, but my goal is to really transition into more of a mental health brand, or at least a company that supports other companies that share the mental wellness kind of goal.
That is so huge. I mean, that is so huge. Where do people find out about the product?
Yeah, so I have an Etsy, that's Urban Wave Embroidery. You can find the link in my bio on my Instagram, which is urban_wave_embroidery, which is also linked in my main account. And just stay updated there. You can always message me for custom orders if you have ideas for anything.
Yeah.
That's that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we're going to we'll put that in the notes for the show. And
awesome.
It's so needed. Props to you for doing this. And especially for, you kind of exploring and coming back to that core value and saying, this is what this is all about. And it's so needed. And it's amazing too. Somebody could see something on a hoodie, or they could see something on a t-shirt or whatever. And it'll spark something in their mind to say, wait a minute, what are some of the other things you have on your product?
Yeah, one of my favorites that I'm kind of working on right now, I did this a while ago. I need to make more. It says perfectly imperfect. And it's just one of my favorite kind of reminders that and nobody's perfect. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just.
Yep. I like it. Perfectly imperfect.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorites. And then my roommate actually came up with the other one in a fun little font, and it's on the back of the sweatshirt. It says, "It's a good day to have a good day." And it's just a bright and cheerful sweatshirt. It's got a bunch of colors on it. It's super fun. Made quite a few of those, and I really enjoy that one as well.
And you're doing all the design work yourself?
Yeah, so I digitize everything myself, make it in Canva and put it through Digitizer, and yeah.
Were you into designing things when you were younger?
Not digitally. I mostly I was always someone who was making this friendship bracelets, the duct tape wallets. Right,
that was you. Okay.
That was us. Just all sorts of physical art. I think I was very into. So honestly, I'm amazed that I'm doing stuff that requires a lot of digital art. That is not where my expertise and talent really lie, but I've kind of had to adapt because I'm kind of bootstrapping this. I'm not paying a bunch for software, so I'm just learning how to do it all myself on the free tools that I have available to me.
Hey, more power to you. That's awesome. Why not? And it's working. It's definitely working. Okay, before we lose our time, talk to the person, again, who's watching and listening that's really struggling, and they haven't grasped it's okay not to be okay. They're still kind of hung up with that stigma. I can't ask for help. What happens if I do ask for help? What are people going to think? That comparison thing. Talk to them. Yeah,
well, first, you're not alone. There's so many people in this world who are in the same boat as you. There are so many people who have been in the same boat as you. And at the same time, no one's story is the same. Mm-hmm. You have challenges, and they are worth getting help for. No matter how big, no matter how small, therapists are there to help you. They don't care what it may be. It can seem like the smallest thing to you, and they will make it a big deal. They will treat it like it's their top priority, and they will treat you as, their number.
Nice.
So I just encourage you to seek that help. Go find your people who will support you. Make sure you go to those appointments and who will just encourage you to be truthful and honest, because therapy is what you put into it. And if you put in that effort and if you really want to get better, then those therapists are there to really help you get through even the toughest of times.
Good word. Good word. And don't be afraid, people, to reach out. And maybe, because your best friend, if I remember what you said, kind of nudged you and said, if you don't start being, honest with the therapist, I'm going to say something. And that's the kind of friends you want. You don't share that with everybody. You don't expect that from everybody, but find that person who you can lean on and find that therapist. They're out there. They're available. Ask around, but you don't have to broadcast it. But, even if you're in high school, go to a high school counselor, and say, who do I go see? Because they're connected. They're hooked up with people that can help them. So we could keep talking and talking. This is such an important topic. And I'm really glad that it worked out for you to be here. We'll have to talk with you again, and have this conversation again, maybe from a different angle. But I just appreciate so much who you are and what you're doing, and let us know if there's any way that we can support you in this, because it's crucial. And to hear this coming from somebody who is so successful. I mean, you're a successful athlete. You're successful with a small business. You're influencing in such a positive way. And yet it hasn't been easy for you, and to see, it's just very cool to be able to talk to you. So thank you for taking time out of a busy schedule. Once again, remind us how we can follow you, follow the journey of everything, the soccer, the PhD, the Urban Wave Embroidery. I'm going to get it right that time.
Yeah. Well, thank you again just for having me. I'm just so glad to share my story.
Oh, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege.
And to find me, just follow this profile. The link to my business account is in there, as well as the link to my Etsy and Bonfire, where you can purchase the Minds Matter campaign hoodies, t-shirts, long sleeves. Like I said, proceeds will go to the Helinski's Hope Foundation, where they will continue to support the mental health of athletes across the country.
That is so awesome. And they're doing such a great job. And what a great partnership, and I'm glad that we found you through them and that you were willing to take time out of a crazy schedule. That's not getting any better. But thank you, Sabrina. It's just a real privilege to have you. And we'll look forward to talking to you again. All the best as you continue in that. I hope you get a little bit of a breather this summer.
Just a little.
Tiny.
Yeah.
Well, tiny's better than none, right?
Yes.
Hey, thanks for being with us.
This is Utalk Radio.